This is how the wealthy play the game of life. Not in survival mode, but in offense. The moment you can switch from survival mode to offense, the game changes.
3 money habits that keep people broke. I would say the first thing is not investing at all. Everybody won't be able to build $1 billion business, right? But everybody can invest in one. Putting our money in the bank, thinking that the bank is the safest place to have our money, right? That's probably the most dangerous place, because I always say a dollar that's not moving is a dollar that's losing. 70% of everything that we use and consume with our money is on the stock market. And oftentimes the stock is cheaper than the product. Owning a stock is like, it's owning a percentage of a great business, right? So if you don't invest your money, then you're now saying that the only way that I can grow my money is based on what I can physically do.
Right, time for money.
Right, time for money, which is never an even exchange, because you can't work 24 hours a day, but your money can. Right, the next one is spending money that we don't have. I read a stat that said most people spend $1.04 for every $1 that they make. So now we're spending more money than we actually have. At that point, you can never catch up. And then most important is just buying things we don't need, right? Most people don't have the financial fortitude to be strong enough to say, you know what, I don't need this, right? Most people impulse buy, right? So impulse buying, after that, gratification is gone. After that, you release those endorphins. Now it's like, damn, I really didn't need that. But it's too late, you've already bought it. And so once I understood that concept, I understood that the key to wealth is through ownership.
I always say the first thing is, and I say this and I want people to understand this, invest in what you understand.
So if you wear Nikes,
yeah, you should be looking at apparel brands, right? Nike, Lululemon, because you understand that, right? If you a workout person, then you should be looking at like Planet Fitness, things like that. Like if you are a tech person, if you use an Apple phone, you should 100% be on looking at Apple, right? If you're a car person, like, but one of the things I like now is fintech, financial technology. So everybody uses PayPal or Square, right? That is the way money is changing. The way we using money is completely different now. So I think everybody should be investing in fintech right now, 100%. But I look at it as, so every investor has what's called an investor identity. Like what you're willing to risk, your risk tolerance, what companies you're more familiar with. If you're a doctor, then you know more about medicine. So you should be in biotech or pharmaceuticals, healthcare. That should be your thing. If you are, again, a person who's in software, then cybersecurity, software, that's where you're going to be strong at. And that's where your strong points are. I remember Warren Buffett said for a long time, he didn't understand technology. So he didn't buy technology. He didn't buy Apple stock until like 2017. He's like, I don't understand. I don't even have a computer.
I don't use it.
I don't even use it, right? So I learned that from him. He says, I put things in a too hard box, right? So the easiest thing is like wherever you work at, like look around. Wherever you shop at, look around. Every time I buy a product, I'm looking at who made it. So I can go look that up, see if it's a public company, if it's a private company, right? If it's public, I mean, we can all invest into it. If I can invest into it, I want a piece of it. You know what I'm saying? Just to keep it simple. We don't even have to make it hard, right? You don't have to be Warren Buffett out the gate, right? You don't have to be that. Like Warren Buffett didn't become Warren Buffett until 20 years, 30 years in. So you gotta figure out who you are as a person, who you are as an investor, that take you to that next level.
Money is one part of our lives, and the reason why people are scared to talk about it is because we're insecure about it, and that's because we don't understand how money plays a part in our lives. It's one aspect. I say that there's 4. You have to be physically healthy, mentally healthy, spiritually healthy, and then financially healthy. If you're not financially healthy, well, it can make everything else much more miserable because you can't pay your bills. But if you're financially healthy, you're rich, but you have nothing else, more money just makes you more miserable. So you need to live a holistic life and understand how money plays a part in your life. That way, the finances can have the biggest power. And then you understand that more money just amplifies who you are. It's like fire, it's like fuel. It fuels your fire. If you're a good person and you have more money, you have a tool to do more good. If you're a bad person, you have more money, you have a tool to do more bad.
So financial independence is saying, I now can make money for myself. I don't got to worry about my job. I don't got to worry about none of that. I can create the cash flow that comes into my house. Financial freedom says money is no longer even an issue. Big difference. Because even someone who can create money for themselves still doesn't have freedom all the time.
Right.
You can be an entrepreneur and be a slave to the business.
You build yourself a job.
You build yourself a job,
Yeah.
right? But financial freedom says your money is not even an issue no more.
Right.
And that don't even have to be a lot.
Make your life better.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be now just buying a whole bunch of Gucci and Louis Vuitton. It's now actually improving your life. So the simplest example would be you start a YouTube channel. We talked about buying a camera. Well, one thing that you could do is you can hire a video editor. You know, you go on a freelance site, hire a freelance video editor, and now what are you doing? You can spend more time making more videos instead of spending all of your time editing the content. So you can focus on your time. You can hire someone to mow the lawn. You bought your time back. You can hire somebody to help get you your groceries. You buy your time back. It costs money. You have to spend money in order to do that. But you're getting something in exchange. And now you're buying your time back so you can use your money as a tool. And you can use your money as a tool to buy your time back, or you can use your money as a tool to make you and attract you more money. That's what wealthy people do. And so you want to be able to use money in that way.
Again, class of people are used to life dictating them. Man, what's up? How you feeling, man? I'm making it, man. Well, you ask somebody, well, what's up, man? Just closed out on a deal. You know, got a couple business meetings. Like, I love attacking life. And it don't always have to be going the way you want. As long as you attacking it. Every day I get up saying, yo, I got an opportunity to go attack, right? I got an opportunity to change something, to make sure, turn my last name into an asset, right? Turn my last name into an asset.
That's cool.
Like, own my 24 hours. That's the goal. Like, the person who can own their 24 hours can create freedom.
There's nothing wrong with spending money. There's nothing wrong with having luxuries. There's nothing wrong with having the nice things.
Yes.
But it's a matter of when can you actually afford it. You have to know when the right time is for you to have it, because you want to first make yourself rich, and then, hey, below, if you can afford it, do whatever you want.
So for me, it's always about how do I attain as much, it's always a challenge for me. How can I attain as much knowledge as I can? Because I love learning. Like, I love learning, but then how do I take that and be able to now reciprocate it or give it to somebody who may not understand calculus or trigonometry, but if I can give it to them in this way, they can say, oh yeah, I got it. And there's more people that struggled in the world that has become successful. So struggle has to become a language that I struggle. So that's the language I'm great at. So if I can break down things into a struggle language, now I make it the game winnable for everybody. And that's the goal, to make the game winnable for everybody who's bold enough to step into the batting cage. If you bold enough to do that, I was bold enough to jump in a goddamn 152-foot tank with sharks in Dubai. If you're bold enough to do it, there's an experience that comes from that. And that experience is so exhilarating, it will take you to the next level. Because now you keep chasing the next level of you. And that is when you start understanding life at a whole nother concept, when you start understanding that, yo, for the longest, I was just low-level living. I was low-level thinking. Now that I've been exposed to something, and I say this often, whatever you haven't been exposed to isn't your fault. Once you get exposed to it, you now are accountable for it. And so once I've become exposed to so much knowledge and information, once I expose you to it, you're accountable, because now you can no longer say, I didn't know. So the important thing for me to tell them is start where you are. You build a house brick by brick. I mean, of course, you can get a house put together all at once. We live in that world now. I get the idea. Right? But you build a mansion, you build an empire, you build it brick by brick. Like, you start with $25. And we have to understand, thank R.I.P. to Nip, man. The great, he says something that's phenomenal. He said, we on a marathon. We didn't get into our situation overnight. Right? If we look back at our situation, you see you inherited that, whatever it is, that poverty. You inherited that mindset, that idea of scarcity, that idea that you don't have enough money. You inherited that. Building wealth becomes a revolutionary act. Because now you start saying, I'm gonna go against what I was taught. Right? And so I said, by starting with $25, if you can do $25 a month, that's cool. If you can do $25 a week, that's cool. But what happens is, Once you start understanding the power of how your money works, you'll start saying, yo, I don't need to do that because that's taken away from this. That 25 will now become $50. Guaranteed. That 50 will now become 100 because you're gonna start doing more with less. The person who works out and sees that they drop 10 pounds in 2 weeks says, you know what, I'm gonna go a little harder because I know if I can drop 10, I can drop 20, right? I know if I see one muscle shape up, I know it's possible. The word possible is so powerful. Possible changes the game. Instead of it being impossible, we now say I am possible or I'm possible. That changes the dynamic. So the first mindset is saying, invest in your first stock. It don't have to be a winner. It doesn't have to be a home run. It can be an AT&T stock that costs $26 right now. It may not be the best investment in the world, but you started, right? And the great thing about anything is you can't be great if you never go to practice. You can't hit 81 if you never get in the gym. So just get in the gym and then find somebody who can teach you. Be dedicated to understand the process. Warren Buffett said he reads 500 pages a day. That lets me know I got a whole lot more reading to do. I'm an Audible book junkie right now because if he's the greatest investor, and if he's reading 500 pages a day, I don't know how he does it, but in my mind, if he's still learning, I got a whole lot of learning to do. If somebody like Monesh Prabrai and Guy Spivey can pay Warren Buffett $1 million to have lunch with him, and these are already great investors who I look up to, if they can pay him $1 million to go have lunch with him, that means they're trying to learn. Their learning has to go to the next level. So if learning is the catalyst to everybody who's wealthy and successful, I can never be sufficient with what I know. And I think that has to happen too. We have to understand the power in learning and being educated, man. I realized how powerful it was for me to, one, become economically powerful in my mind. Because the thing about investing, especially in stocks, is that piece of ownership of everything that I use now makes me say, well, if I own that Apple, God, I don't care about buying an Apple phone. If I'm gonna wear Levi's and I'm gonna wear Timberlands, if I can own VFC Corp, then I own the stuff that I'm buying. I'm okay with that. That subtle shift in my mindset changed everything for me. Because now I was after just owning everything that I consume. In the beginning, that was my introduction to the game. Let me just own everything I consume and then I'll feel okay. And then one dope thing happened to me. In 2010, this after I'm home from prison now, right? I'm home from prison. I'm back in the streets hustling. Because even though I have the information, I don't have the money, right? And I'm like, well, shit, I gotta get the money. My door gets kicked in 2010. They get 8 pounds of weed, $10,000. Yeah, by the cops. 8 pounds of weed, $10,000, a 223, a 40 with extended clip and a beam, and 100 X pills. So the cop tells me, you ain't learned your lesson. You ain't learned your lesson. And I was like, damn, that was some dumb shit, right? I got knowledge, I got information, but I still fell victim to the same shit that everybody around me knew. So therefore, the knowledge that I had wasn't powerful because it wasn't applied. So I was fortunate, God bless me. I wound up getting found out guilty because it's called fruit of a poisonous tree. So they kicked in my door, but they didn't have probable cause because they stopped me in my truck, didn't find nothing on me. So they went to my house, kicked the door in with no search warrant. So now everything you find is null and void. That's purpose, man, because that's not supposed to happen, right? I'm thankful for that all the time. And then, but that put me in a situation because now, even though it cost me $60,000 to beat that charge, I don't have no money. So now I get into the robbing game. So now I start robbing dope dealers, right? Because an OG told me that a person who works a job every day, they not a part of this game. So they not fair game. You don't mess with them. But somebody who sells a nickel bag, he fair game. A shark don't care if it's a tuna or whatever. If you in the ocean swimming, you fair game. And so I started robbing dope dealers at the time because I was like, yo, if you want, you can't call the police. If you want to see me, I'm with it. And I got in a situation where I was good at it. Me and my partner, God bless his soul. And then one day I almost got killed. And I go to my partner and I say, bro, I'm out. Like it's a done deal. But when they kicked my door in, something happened. So they took my truck. They
took my money, but they didn't mess with my stock account. It didn't freeze, it didn't. I said, hold up. They don't think I'm smart enough for this. In the book 48 Laws of Power, it says, never underestimate your opponent. And at that point, I realized that America underestimates us. And it's from a class issue because we've never said we're capable of doing this. It's a game we just didn't play. So I said, okay, God, what do you want me to do? All I know how to do is be a hustler. And the voice from 1999 comes in my head and says, you're just playing the wrong game. Like, all right, cool. So I went to tell my homies, like, yo, check this out. Instead of us just blowing the money, we gonna wear the Fendi anyway. We gonna wear it anyway. Let's just own that shit too. Like, let's play the game both ways. So my homies really wasn't getting it. So I had to say, all right, yo, like, the education, the knowledge is the fertilizer to your wealth, right? So as the education and as the knowledge changes, so does the compensation change. Because now I can have conversations about different things. So I really just locked in on it. And I started teaching my homies, and I was like, all right, how do I make it realistic to them? How do I make them tap into it? So the second thing was like, yo, check this out. None of us can beat the game. Everybody I knew had the same problem. Nobody had a solution. How do I now stop looking like the problem and start representing a solution, right? So I can't talk to everybody, but I can talk to street dudes. Like, I can talk to them. So I'm like, yo, check this out. If you go do a bid, which is gonna happen, what do you come home to? Like, you gotta get back in the streets. You gotta get it out the mud again. So if you had money invested for you, when you come home, you got money. You don't gotta ask nobody for no handout. What if you go do a bid and what you've made the sacrifices, you took the chances, what do your family have? Like, so let's start thinking bigger picture now. What happens if you get killed in the street? Because most of us either go to jail or we get killed. What do you leave your kids? Like, let's start making it make sense. So the goal for me was to never tell you get out the streets. It was to start saying, yo, let's start thinking about our family now. Like, let's start thinking about something bigger than us. And nobody never came to us like that. So that was my whole avenue. And so the Wallstreet Trapper was me just saying, let me turn the trapper word into something positive instead of always being about dope, instead of always being about hustling. And I knew my voice for who I was talking to. I never wanted to talk to nobody else.